Regardless of how people see you, what matters most is how you see yourself. Do you know that you're valuable? Do you know that your worth exists beyond the compliments? Because it's knowing this that protects and maintains your identity. People will come into your life with all kinds of perspectives, and they will treat you based on how they see you. But it is not your job to fit someone else's narrative. It is not your job to conform to how people see or treat you. You are independent from anyone else's opinion, comment, or perspective. Your value comes from a place of truth. Your value comes from an authentic place within. So don't ever let how someone treats you define you. Remember who you are and remember that you are valuable, regardless of who sees it. Should have the confidence to walk into rooms and walk into spaces and speak our mind, knowing that what we have to say is not going to be perfect. And even if it isn't good, like, sometimes we try and label things as good or bad, even if what we say is more so on the negative or on the bad side of things, that's completely fine. And we can learn from those experiences. We aren't doomed to what we've said. Our words we're not tied to every single word that we said. Wrote down a couple things for myself. The first thing being that you are allowed to speak your mind and share your opinions. Allow your words to land on the right people and don't hold yourself to so much pressure if they don't. Be mindful of the things you say. Don't completely be free with your words, but know that you are not held to every single way that you can be perceived. The way that people perceive you is not necessarily a reflection of who you are. Their perception of you 9 times out of 10 is a reflection of themselves, because the way that people perceive you is through their own lens and their own past experiences. Perception and the perception that people have of us has nothing to do with who we actually are. You know who you are. The perception that they are going to have of you may be correct and may be incorrect, but at the end of the day, it does not define you. And I think a lot of the defending of who we are and the defending of, giving people disclaimers so that we don't hurt people's feelings is because we're afraid to be perceived in a negative light. And the thing is that it is completely fine and completely normal to be perceived in a negative light. Actually, it is none of your concern and it is none of your business how people perceive you. It has nothing to do with you. What does confidence consist of? And as I was thinking and reflecting, I came up with 3 things that confidence consists of: openness, belief, and willingness. And before we get into that, I just want to take a moment to thank the sponsor of this video, Skillshare. Have you enjoyed a specific class or learning path on Skillshare yet? Getting started with digital illustrations with Procreate Basics is a learning path filled with various classes on how to use Procreate to the max. I have been using Procreate for about 2 years now, and it's actually where I make all of my thumbnails. What I love most about this learning path is that it lays out various classes so that I can elevate my skills as I learn. I usually create pretty basic and simple thumbnails, but I'm looking forward to learning how I can use different brushes and textures to give my thumbnails that pizzazz. Skillshare is the largest online learning community for creatives with a wide range of topics from photography, illustration, marketing, and even productivity. The great thing is that it's on demand. With stackable lessons, members can learn at their own pace no matter what skill level they're at. Learning paths are set up in a way where you can find a solid place to start your goals. What I really appreciate is that it's high quality and curated, so you can easily move through the classes and discover new teachers in your chosen subject area. Using Skillshare has narrowed the space between my creative ideas and my creative abilities. It allowed me to learn the skills I need to bring my ideas to life, and also helped me find the confidence to actually share the things that I create. If you want to learn and elevate your skills, start your learning journey today. The first 500 people to use my link in the description will get a 1-month free trial of Skillshare. No confidence sounds like, I can't do this, I shouldn't try, I'm not ready. But having confidence sounds like, it's new, but I'll try. I learn from my mistakes. I trust myself. What's the worst that can happen? I love learning by doing. And so we can see here that when someone is confident, they aren't afraid of making mistakes. They aren't afraid of being wrong because they're confident in their ability to learn. They're confident. They know that making mistakes does not define who they are. They aren't defined by their mistakes. They aren't defined from their shortcomings, right? And I think in social settings, having this mindset of being confident, right? And being open, right? Why I said openness was a part of confidence is because you have to have that mindset to be open to the possibilities, right? I have to be open enough to realize that there is a possibility for good, and that there's a possibility that whatever I have to say will land on ears that are willing to listen. I have to be confident and open to think that, well, maybe even if I do say the wrong thing, I can recover from that. I can learn from that. Maybe I won't say that again, Maybe I won't share all that information. Like we've all been in situations where maybe we told a little too much. We disclosed a little too much information about ourselves. Okay, from that situation, what did you learn? You learned that maybe next time, don't just go pouring out your heart to everybody to the point where you feel naked and almost as if you've said too much. Okay, that's fine. Sometimes we have to make mistakes to actually learn from it. And we have to be open enough to allow ourselves to maybe fall or stumble, because the openness opens the opportunity, no pun intended, the openness opens the opportunity to learn and to gather new information so that we can move forward with more confidence and more knowledge rather than keeping ourselves closed off. The second thing that makes up confidence is belief. And belief kind of ties into the openness, right? When you have an open mind, when you're open to the possibilities of learning, of making mistakes and learning from those mistakes, you have to have that belief that, hey, you can actually learn and this isn't the end, right? You make one mistake and it isn't the end of the world. You have to really believe that. You have to really know that in your heart of hearts. Know that you are allowed to make mistakes. Know that you making mistakes doesn't make you any less than any other person. We all make mistakes. We all stumble. We all fall. We all look silly sometimes. We all stumble on our words, but that does not make you any less of a person. Believe that. Know that. You're allowed to make mistakes. You're allowed to say the wrong things. Don't hold yourself back from speaking at all because you're afraid that you're going to say the wrong thing. You got to have a little bit more belief. You got to have a little bit more faith in yourself. The third thing that makes up confidence is willingness. You have to be willing to get uncomfortable and willing to make those mistakes. Once you've kind of had this openness and now you're open to the idea, now you kind of believe it. Okay, I understand that. That makes sense. I'm not afraid to make mistakes. I'm not afraid to fall and stumble. Cool. Now you've got to actually put yourself and be willing to put yourself in that uncomfortable situation where you are speaking your mind, because guess what? When you do speak your mind and when you do say things that are true to you, it's not every time that it's going to fall on someone that's like you or that kind of has the same view or perspective as you. It's not every time that you come across that. Sometimes there's going to be conflict. Sometimes you're going to be around people that don't necessarily agree with you. Doesn't mean that you're wrong, but you have to be willing to be uncomfortable in that situation. You have to be willing to have your feet and plant your feet in the confidence that you have started to build, right? And so it's a combination of these three things: openness, belief, and willingness. And I would say that the willingness is really maybe one of the hardest parts, but it's where we actually start to see a difference. That willingness is almost like the action of the theory, right? We've got the theory. A lot of us have a lot of theory. A lot of us have a lot of knowledge and a lot of smarts. We know things. We know that we should be doing better. We know that we could be doing better, but we haven't gotten to that part of willingness where we're actually taking what we know and willingly bringing it into action, willingly putting those actions into place. Because although that's uncomfortable and although it doesn't feel like the right thing in the moment, sometimes things don't feel like the right thing just because we aren't used to it. Not necessarily that it isn't a good thing, but just that we are not used to it, right? We haven't been doing this. This is not our norm. And so of course it's going to feel uncomfortable at first. Of course you're going to want to scream and hide away, but be willing to face your fear and to face that opposition, right? Be willing to face what you are able to overcome, because the thing is, you are able to overcome it. Right? Be willing. And I know that you can do it. And this is me saying this to myself. Like, Be willing to speak your mind. Be confident in what you have to say. Not everybody's going to agree with you, and that does not matter. You can still speak your mind. I think there is also a very real tension that needs to be held, because for a long time, I didn't want to speak my mind because I thought that freely speaking my mind would have a very negative effect on people, because I'm not this perfect person that has happy rainbow thoughts 24/7. Some of the things I think about and some of the things I want to say are mean and harsh. And I think holding that tension and being honest about our thoughts and honest about the things that we think about and our judgments is really what allows us to begin to start to hold that tension. Because guess what? We are humans at the end of the day, and all of us have nasty, dirty, mean thoughts that we definitely shouldn't share. And so this is not a video about me saying, speak your mind and speak it freely. Yes, do that, but also hold the tension between filtering your thoughts. Also hold the tension between the part of you that is flawed, the part of you that is mean, and the part of you that is maybe, critical. Those thoughts maybe need to be filtered. Those thoughts maybe you need to hold yourself back a little bit. Maybe take a couple seconds to think through what it is you are gonna say. Words are very powerful and they stick, but that cannot be the thing that keeps you and holds you back from speaking. Hold the tension between the two. And when you hold the tension, you're able to stand in the middle, right? Literally think of like a string or a tightrope. When that rope is tied tight from one side to the other, it's tight, you're able to walk on that. That's somewhat of a surface that you can find your firm ground on, right? This is just a silly example, but you get the point. Whereas if the rope was loose and it was, all moving all over the place, you wouldn't be able to walk on it. There's no tension, there's no grounding for you. And so hold the tension between your thoughts that are not productive and your thoughts that maybe people just don't agree with, or maybe people will make assumptions about you, but you still have to share it because that's what makes you you, and that's your unique perspective. Don't let how someone will perceive you keep you silent and keep you small. Know that there are people that will relate to you and there are people that won't relate to you, and that's just a part of life. That's a part of reality that we have to all deal with. And I don't think that it's a good idea to kind of hide away from that or avoid people or keep yourself silent, right? Life is so beautiful and so full, and we deserve to live in it fully. And sometimes living in life fully requires a sacrifice of ourselves and a sacrifice of our comfort, where we are going to be around people that perceive us in a negative light, and that's completely okay because we're confident in who we are, and we know that one person's perception of us does not fully define us, right? Know who you are so that no one can tell you who you are. That's one thing that I really learned growing up, is know who you are so no one can tell you who you are. If you don't know who you are, what everyone says about you is going to define you. If you don't know who you are, every single comment, remark, joke is going to trigger you because you think that there might be truth in it, because you don't know the truth of who you are. And so you go and find out who you are. Maybe that's where you have to start, finding out who you are and finding out the things that make you you, the truth about who you are, right? Get to know yourself a little bit more. Date yourself, know who you are so that people don't define and don't have the ability to define who you are. How people see or experience you is not entirely you. People have their own assumptions and judgments that oftentimes don't have anything to do with you. How they perceive you is more about them than it is about you. Don't let that be the thing that keeps you small. When it comes to validation, let's stop seeking the validation from everyone else around us. Let's build that inner confidence and belief in our own self so that we are not held to the opinions, assumptions, standards of everyone else. Validation seeking is something that we all struggle with, and that is a very real thing. When we ask our friend for an opinion, hey, I'm thinking of starting a podcast, or I'm thinking of starting a website, whatever it is that you're starting, insert here, okay? when you ask your friend that, your friend might be in a totally different world. Maybe your friend is like a super intellectual, is in med school, like taking a totally different path than you. You ask your friend, I'm thinking of starting a business. I'm thinking of starting a website. What do you think about it? She might not, or he might not have the same values as you, or might not be going in the same direction as you. And so from their perception, they might think, well, why would you waste your time doing that? Why would you do that? And give you their opinion that's based on them and what they see as valuable. Now, if you don't have the confidence and you're just seeking validation from other people, you are going to take that very real perception that someone had, that very real opinion that someone had, and now apply it to your life. Wait a minute. Their opinion did not apply to you. Their opinion was not for you, right? Yes, you went and asked for it, but it wasn't for you. It doesn't do anything for you. And so we have to stop asking people for opinions and seeking validation in what they have to say for what we are doing for our life. Opinions are for consideration. That's pretty much what the moral of the story is. They aren't the end all be all. They are for you to consider, but you have to have that confidence in yourself to now take their opinion, weigh it out with yours, see what works best. It's for consideration. It isn't the truth. Your friend does not know the truth. Same with you. You don't either. And so maybe you do a little collaboration. Your opinion, my opinion. Okay, let's find a middle ground, right? But anyways, that is all that I have. I hope that we can start speaking our minds. I don't know if you can relate. If you are like me and hold yourself back a lot and don't tend to speak your mind because you're afraid of hurting people's feelings or afraid of like saying the wrong thing, oh my gosh, I'm praying for both of us. Like, let's do better. Let's find a little bit more confidence and just say what we have to say and be confident that. And also don't be so much of people pleasers, because I feel like a bit of it is people pleasing, where we're like, we just want to make everybody feel comfortable and everyone feel like safe and like they're comfortable. Meanwhile, we are uncomfortable holding ourselves back and not saying what we have to say. And so let's go into the rest of this year speaking our mind and speaking it fully and confidently. I want to thank you guys for being here and watching this video. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And thank you again for Skillshare for sponsoring this video. Definitely, guys, click that link. It really helps me out when you click the link and sign up. But anyways, thank you so much. And I will see you guys in another video. Peace and love, and bye for now.